how do you make it so clear that everybody's stories intersect with everybody else's stories? And I'm particularly fascinated by this in a social media world where the decisions we make and how ethical or not so ethical they are end up being magnified by social media. But in your works, it's so clear that everybody sort of affects everybody else. How do you do that?
I mean, I just think that's the world we live in, and I think it didn't used to be the case. I mean, if you look at novels from what's the sort of golden age of the novel in the sort of 18th, 19th centuries, they don't feel the need to suggest that because people's worlds were sealed off. They were little worlds. Jane Austen's characters, are in these little worlds. Madame Bovary is in a little world, and that little world completely explains them, and they don't have to look beyond. But now we don't live in those bubbles, all our little boxes collide with everybody else's little boxes. So the question is, how do you represent that? And that's something I've been interested in for a long time.
Do you think that to bring that to 2017, are you also interested in sort of the frontiers of humanity and sort of man-machine, man-animal?
I wish I had a bit more science than I do. I am interested in the whole kind of AI field, and I mean, there's a part of my life in which I was a big science fiction freak, and so, a lot of science fiction foretold all of this. In a way, if you grew up reading, Arthur Clarke and Ray Bradbury and people like that, then you're ahead of the curve in a way, because as we know, Isaac Asimov developed the laws of robotics before there were robots. The problem now is, if you're reaching the point, which we seem to be reaching, where a robot or an artificial intelligence might have an ethical sense, would that interrupt or would that contradict the famous first law of robotics, which is that a robot can't harm a human being? That if a robot were to ethically decide that a human being was evil, would that override the first law? I mean, this is the kind of area we're reaching now.
Well, also we're looking at sort of who decides.
Yeah.
So who's behind the algorithms that are telling you that you have a good fashion sense or that are driving your cars? And at the moment, the experts, and I'm no expert in AI, but the experts tell me that, for example, driverless cars don't have any judgment.
Yes.
So for the moment, we're still dependent on human judgment, even if it's being executed or operationalized through machines.
It would take a lot to get me into a driverless car. I mean, it really would.
Big leap of faith.
Yeah, I'd prefer to trust the worst driver I know.